Well, it's the end of the world as we know it. Hey, everybody. Jack Heald, the dad you wish you had. Oh, boy. It is the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. What about you? What is it today? Monday? Wednesday? Golly, it's Wednesday already. Wednesday, March 11th, 2020. The end of the world as we know it. I'm, uh, I'm okay. But first of all, before we go farther, let's stop for a moment. And on this, of all days, when the WHO has declared a pandemic, the world is melting down, life as we know it is coming to an end, we should pause, drink a toast to the beauty of this present moment. It is good to be alive. You'll notice once again I still have my goofball headset on because I am waiting on my replacement digital audio interface. It's supposed to be here tomorrow, hopefully before the show. So I apologize for the quality of the sound. This is a gaming headset. Um, it is what it is. So today I want to talk about the end of the world as we know it. I've actually survived at least 15 the end of the worlds as we know it, and I'm going to share those with you today. So in no particular order, this is probably I put it in chronological order as far as I can remember it. I have survived the student protests of the 1960s, which were a result of the federal government sending young men ages 18 to 22 to Southeast Asia to fight and die in an undeclared war with an undeclared reason for being there and an unclear definition of what victory looked like. Lest you think that we've had a lot of those. Back then we had the draft, so you didn't have a choice. If you were 18 to 22 and you got drafted, um, you went, regardless of what you were doing. There were some exceptions, and a few people just simply refused to go, in which case they suffered the consequences. And generally, what it boiled down to is that your body was owned by the federal government if you were a young male between the ages of 18 and 22. And 55,000 of us died in Southeast Asia. 55,000. I'd like you to keep that in mind. So that was pretty significant, and college campuses all over the country were literally, not figuratively, but literally suffering flames, explosions, government killings. I remember Kent State very clearly when 4 Kent State students were gunned down by the National Guard. Somehow I managed to survive it, as did the rest of us. End of the world as we know it, number 2. What was that one? That was the Watergate crisis. Um, for those of you who weren't alive during that time, it was in fact the end of the republic, the end of our democracy, the end of trust in government. It was basically the end of the world as we know it, and yet somehow we all survived. Um, the end of the world as we know it, number 3, was the Arab oil embargo of 1973. Prior to the embargo, gasoline was running about, I remember paying as little as 19 cents a gallon. I personally didn't pay it, but I remember pulling up to a gas pump with my mom driving and seeing 19 cents a gallon. Overnight, the price of gasoline doubled. Imagine the price of gasoline doubling overnight now, what that would look like. Well, that's what we went through. Um, and before the decade was over, the price of gasoline had actually tripled, and it's never gone down below those rates since. Now, inflation adjusted rates are really pretty solid, but back then this was not inflation adjusted. And it was the end of the world as we knew it. People would have to stop driving. Detroit would collapse, the manufacturing base would collapse, and it was the end of the world as we knew it, and everything was going to suck and be horrible and awful and bad. And yet, somehow, we survived it. Here's another one I survived, the misery index. In the late 1970s, we had what we called the misery index. That was double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment, double-digit interest rates. Yes, you heard me right. Inflation was over 10%. Unemployment was over 10%. And overnight interest rates to the Federal Reserve were, believe it or not, over 10%. Took a long time to get that stuff under control. I remember my first house, which we bought in 1987, my interest rate on my house was 13%. You people are pissed off if you're paying 8% on a credit card. I was paying 13% on a house. And, this kind of thing was just going to destroy life as we knew it. And by golly, we survived. Another one, end of the world as we know it, that I survived was the crash of Black Monday, 1987. We're watching the stock market melt down, and on Black Monday, 1987, the market closed at a rate slightly half of what it opened at on Monday morning. Okay, Black Monday, 1987. The market lost over 50% of its value in one day. Yep, it was the end of the world as we know it. The economy was crashing. Life as we knew it in America was coming to an end. As it happens, at that time in the late 80s, Japan was going to crush us. The Japanese juggernaut was going to destroy the United States of America. It was the end of the world as we know it, and yet here we are. We're all okay. End of the world as we know it. Number 4, number 5. That was number 5. Oh, number 6, the S&L crisis. Well, what a lot of you don't even know is that prior to the big crash of 2008, the housing crash of 2008, we had a housing crash in the late 1980s. And the savings and loans around the country, many of you don't even know what a savings and loan is because of the S&L crisis in the late 80s. What had happened? Well, it turned out that a whole lot of savings and loans had made loans on houses, and for various reasons, all of which had to do with the various things that I just pointed out previously: double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment, double-digit interest rates, the crash of Detroit, the stock market crisis. All these savings and loans they were insolvent. They went under. It was a terrible crisis. It was going to destroy our economy, destroy our financial system. It was the end of the world as we knew it. And yet, once again, we managed to survive. And then, not far after the S&L crisis had been resolved, there was the first Gulf War where Saddam Hussein invaded someplace, Kuwait, I believe it was. He set the Kuwaiti oil fields on fire. It was going to take a generation to recover from the disaster that Saddam Hussein inflicted upon the West. It was the end of life as we knew it, and we survived it somehow. Not long after that, in the late 90s, we had what was called long-term capital management. That was a company that they were just a great big giant hedge fund. They took a huge position in some foreign currencies, and they were run by what was called the smartest people on the planet, with these brilliant algorithms that always made the right decision, so that making money was as easy as walking outside and picking fruit off of a tree, except they were wrong, and it was going to destroy the capital markets, which naturally would destroy life as we knew it, which naturally mean it was going to be, yes, you heard it right, the end of the world as we know it, and yet somehow we managed to survive. Then there was 9/11, which was in some ways truly was the end of the world as we knew it, because from that point forward we had the Patriot Act, which greatly curtailed a lot of our civil liberties. But you know what? The end of the world as we know it was a function of what government decided to do in response to a criminal act. And somehow we've managed to survive it. And then, of course, we've already talked about the Great Recession, the housing market crash of 2008. I completely skipped over the dot-com crash that preceded 9/11, which wiped out literally trillions of dollars of value, in air quotes. We survived that. We survived the Great Recession of 2008, although a whole lot of people who should have gone to jail didn't, and a whole lot of people who shouldn't have lost their houses did. A whole lot of people who should have never been given a loan to buy a house also lost their house. But again, this was a government-induced problem. It was not a natural problem. We survived. In addition to all of those things, here is a list of the global pandemics that I can remember in my lifetime that was going to end the world as we knew it. That I have survived. I have survived AIDS, Legionnaire's disease, SARS, Ebola, and swine flu. All of those were going to threaten life as we knew it. It was going to be just a disaster. It was going to be beyond comprehension how bad things were going to be. Everything was going to change. Stop me if you heard this one before. So, I guess the Wuhan flu, the Wu flu, is the end of the world as we know it. By my count, this is number 16 or 17 that I can remember off the top of my head that is going to end life as we know it. I feel fine. I'm Jack Heald, the dad you wish you had.